that's a little bit of conversation around identity diversity. I also want to talk a little bit about cognitive diversity because I think this is an increasingly critical kind of diversity and one that we're still not spending a lot of time thinking and talking about. So the identity is who we are, where we come from, how we identify, how people see us. Cognitive is how we think about things, how we see the world, how we see problems, and it is increasingly important, and we'll talk a little bit about why later. But I want to give you a little bit of a framework for thinking about this idea of cognitive diversity. This is a simple overview. You've got a different version of this. It's not colored, but it's a different version in your workbook. It's on page 3. At the center of that thing in your workbook, you've got this set of information, but this is based on some work done by Ned Herman. Ned Herman spent his life studying creativity and innovation and brain science, and similar to some other models out there, he's got 4 dominant thinking styles. Not terribly different from emergenetics or Myers-Briggs or some of those other things, but I just want to, this is a model that I happen to like, but he's identified 4 dominant thinking styles. And so each one of these quadrants, each one of these colors identifies a different thinking style. What I want you to do is I want you to take a look at these characteristics, or the characteristics that are at the center of the circle in your workbook, and I want you to find the list of attributes that best identify you, how you think, how you approach problems. You may see some of yourself in a couple of quadrants, maybe even all 4, but try to find the set of characteristics that best identifies how you work when push comes to shove. Where do you naturally go? Who are my blue folks? Upper left-hand corner. Raise your hands. Logical, analytical, rational. Are these joys and frustrations kind of accurate for you? Do you enjoy solving technical problems? The logical approach, you tend to go there naturally. You're a little frustrated by socializing, icebreakers. This may be, like what I'm doing right now, is maybe uncomfortable. You're feeling a little scratchy with me doing this right now. How about my yellow folks? Upper right-hand corner. Where are you at? Raise your hands. Very small. Either a lot of people are boycotting the exercise or we've got some big groups coming up. Do these joys and frustrations, are they kind of accurate for you? Do you like conceptualizing, innovating, thinking about big picture ideas? Not so crazy about routine schedule, routine meeting structure. I can spend time with you people. How about my green folks? Where are you at? Lower left hand. Okay. Do those joys and frustrations, are they kind of accurate for you? You like implementing and following through on things? I need more of you people in my life. A little frustrated by not following the rules, big sky, big idea. How about lower right hand, the red folks? Okay, there is a pretty big group of red. That's interesting. I'd say about half of you are red. I wonder what that means. I have to think about that. But are those joys and frustrations kind of accurate for you guys? You like expressing ideas, understanding group dynamics, team buildings. You would like to see some more exercises maybe. I'll take that into consideration. Innovate on the move. Frustrated by people that put logic ahead of feelings, no interaction with people. So, and again, I'm not promoting this particular model. I think there's other things, other tools out there that can do largely the same thing, but it's a good reminder that we naturally have different thinking styles. We just do. We are wired differently. We work differently. It's important for us to keep that in mind, but it's also important for us to think about what the value of that is, what the value of those different thinking styles are. Because again, we have, in human nature and in social groups and in organizations, we have some strong conformist tendencies. Regardless of our intentions, human nature drives us towards conformity, people that make sense to us. Okay? As easy as it is for me to find myself on this diagram, it's just as easy for me to find the group of people that makes me crazy. Some of you are thinking about some specific individuals, right? And one of the reasons that they can often make us crazy is that they're in a different group than we are. And because they're in a different group, because they think differently, they have different priorities, they use different language, and that stuff doesn't make sense to us. And so when we are putting a team together, when we're developing an agenda, rather than reaching out to those people that make us crazy, we avoid them. Not to be exclusive, not to discriminate or to be hateful, but to make our own lives easier. Because we don't want to deal with that stuff. Because I'm an idea person, they just want to talk about numbers. Or I'm a numbers person, they just want to talk about ideas. To make our life simple and neat and orderly and a little bit more sane, we leave those people out. And that's a bad thing. It's human nature, but it's a bad thing because we don't get the value of cognitive diversity. And cognitive diversity is powerful. I'll give you a scenario. Let's say that I wanted to have 2 groups of people compete against each other to solve a complex problem. And I'm going to draw these 2 teams from the same original pool. I'm going to go to Harvard University to their graduating MBA class, and we're going to say that there's 100 people in this class. And by our standards, these are all smart people, right? From that class, I'm going to pull two teams to compete against each other. The first team I'm going to pull out is going to be the top 10 by grade point average. Okay? We all know who these people are. They're the ones that talk about their grades all the time. Some of you probably were the top 10. But one team is going to be top 10 by grade point average. The other team is going to be 10 people drawn from that class at random. 10 at random. Those two teams are going to compete against each other to solve a complex problem. Who do you think wins that competition? The random does? Raise your hand if you think the random team wins. Quite a few of you do. Raise your hand if you think the top 10 team wins. Raise your hand if you refuse to answer the question. Here's what the research shows, and there's actually this actual study has been done. There's an entire book about it called The Difference by Scott Page, which I'll recommend a number of times. Probably the most important book on diversity that's come out in the past decade. But this is what the research shows. Scott Page did this study. He did scientific research on it, and he showed that when the random 10 are able to communicate and get along with each other and work together, they beat the top 10 every single time. And they do so because of cognitive diversity. Now, it's important to keep in mind that the ability to communicate and work together and get along is not a given. There's two byproducts always connected to increased diversity. One is increased opportunity to innovate, and the other is increased opportunity for tension. When you bring difference together, I don't care what kind of difference it is, you have those two things present. Opportunity to create something new and opportunity for tension. You have to be able to deal with the tension to get the good stuff. But when that group of 10 random folks is able to communicate and get along and work together, they beat the top 10 every single time. And they do so because of cognitive diversity. One of the reasons that the top 10 are the top 10 is that they use some problem-solving approaches and some rules of thumb and some mental models that are very good in that environment. And they all use some of the very same tools. So when they come together, they have a fairly kind of small, similar mental toolbox to start working with. The random 10 is all over the place. They all use different stuff. Some of it's good, some of it's not good. But when they come together as a group, they have a much larger mental toolbox to start working with. It's kind of like buying lottery tickets. If you have one lottery ticket, you're going to get the lottery ticket that's got that best number on it, that secret, super lucky number. But if you can buy 10 lottery tickets, you don't want the same number on every one. You want to buy 10 different lottery tickets so you have a bigger pool of potential winners. That's kind of how cognitive diversity works. And I'll touch on this again, but cognitive diversity is a driving ingredient for creativity and innovation, which is increasingly important in the business world today. You cannot be sustainably innovative as an organization or a community if you do not get and value and bring together diversity. You can't. It doesn't work. Cognitive diversity is one of the key ingredients. And we'll come back and touch on that a little bit. But we can think about it just within the realm of money. If four of us were going to go spend some time together, and we were each kind of from a different perspective, and we're just thinking about what we're going to do with the money that we've pulled together. The blue folks are really good at counting the money, right? Really good at that. The yellow folks, raise your hand again, yellow folks. Here's your spenders, right? I'm not talking about like super saving, getting the best deals, just spending money. That's what they're good at. The green folks are good at saving money, and the red folks are good at helping the other three do what it is that they do naturally. And so I think that just thinking about it within that perspective, we can think about the value of having all four of those perspectives represented. We don't want to just count it. We don't want to just save it. We don't want to just spend it. But we're going to be better off if we can do a little bit of all four of those. But we've got to bring together those four different perspectives, deal with that tension, and come out with the best solution, the byproduct solution.